Hey everyone, this is Theo from parkerblocks.com. Welcome to another review. Today I'm going to feature the UG2150 pen display. This is actually a monitor that you can draw on with a stylus like this. You can consider this a synthetic alternative as well. Now this is a review unit sent to me by Gearbest. Gearbest is a website that sells electronics and a lot of other stuff. This model actually came out 2 years ago. I had a guest artist who wrote a text review on my website, so if you want to save some time, you can actually just check out the text review. The link is in the video description below. Let's take a quick look at all the things that are included. We have the power cable and adapter. Depending on where you are, you're going to get the appropriate plug. This is a HDMI cable, the ancient VGA cable. This is the USB cable for the monitor to the computer as well. We have two charging cables for the two pens that I included. This is the pen stand, and inside this stand there are 8 replacement tips and the tip remover. And lastly, there's this manual and driver CD. Here's a closer look at the pen. It has a lightweight feel to it. The build quality is quite sturdy. The rubber grip is huge, so it feels quite comfortable to hold in hand. It doesn't slip at all. There are 2 buttons on the side, and right behind there is no eraser. Instead, there is a charging port. It's a good idea to include 2 pens because if one pen runs out of battery, you can still use the other one while you charge the first pen. That's the hard tip. It has a slight wobble to it, which is not very different from other styluses that I have tried. The stand is nice. You can either put the pen horizontally or vertically like this, which I usually do. So this is the screen, 21.5 inches. The resolution is 1080p. As you can tell, it's very reflective, so if you have lights overhead of you, they are going to show up in the reflection. These are the buttons below for you to switch it on and also adjust the monitor settings. Let's turn this around. This is the stand that's behind, so you can release this latch here to adjust the stand. I'm going to show that to you later on. Let's check out the ports that are included here. This is the bottom of the stand. This part here is not movable. If you want to use your VESA mount with this monitor, you can do so by removing this whole stand here. These are the ports that are included: the USB port, the power, HDMI, DVI, even though they did not include any DVI cable, and the VGA port. So this is how the monitor looks like when it's connected to the computer. I'm using Mac OS. I do not have Windows computer at home, so I cannot test this with Windows OS. If you want the perspective from a Windows user, you can check out the text review that a guest artist has written on my website. Just visit the link in the video description below. So I've just color calibrated this screen. This is an IPS panel, so viewing angles is quite good. I can move my head here or here, and there is very minimal color shifting. Same thing when you tilt the monitor down, there's very minimal color shifting. The glossy screen is quite prone to having reflections, so my camera is able to capture the reflection of my light up here. But actually, when I'm looking at the screen right now, I do not see any reflection. These are the different angles that you can use the stand to adjust the monitor. So this is almost vertical, maybe around 5 degrees off from the vertical. So you can just release this latch here and push the monitor down like this. You can go into different positions all the way down like this. The downside with having the cables coming out from the bottom of the screen is sometimes when you put the monitor down, the cable may get in the way, so the screen may feel tilted, so you have to move the cable out of position. For me, this is a more comfortable angle to work with. The rubber feet, they are on the table. When you move the monitor all the way down, the rubber feet actually raises off from the top of the table. After you install the driver, the first thing you should do is to calibrate the pen to the screen. They will present different crosshair on the screen where you just have to point the pen to the crosshair to calibrate it. This is to remove the parallax error. And the other setting that you can change is the pressure. By default, pressure sensitivity works very well. This pen supports up to 2048 levels of pressure sensitivity. Since it works very well, I do not have to change anything. There is no pressure curve. You have to change the pressure using this dial here from light to heavy. I'm going to set this at the lightest. Other things that you can change would be the buttons on the side of the pen. Other than that, you cannot really do a lot with the driver settings. This is Photoshop. Pressure works quite well. I do feel that there is some sort of lag. So the strokes, they do not appear immediately. Let's try some cross hatching. I think the strokes, they taper well enough, but I can definitely feel the lag. By the way, this lag, it only appears in Photoshop. I've tried other software and the lag is very minimal. The pen is really sensitive. I can draw very lightly and I can still get those lines to show up. And of course, if I draw very heavily, I can get really thick lines. The transition between the thin and thick, it's quite smooth, so that's good. The thing with Photoshop is sometimes when I draw curves like this, the lines may have that slight wobble, but sometimes it's really very smooth. And for example, right now, it's really very smooth. So when it works really well. Maybe it takes some time to warm up. I usually get the wobble effect in the first few minutes that I use Photoshop. But now it seems that it's fine. It's working well. This is Illustrator CS5. Let me pick a brush, turn on the pressure. I am not able to turn on the pressure because this option is blanked out here. So I cannot use pens with pressure sensitivity here with Illustrator CS5. Maybe pressure will work well with newer versions of Illustrator. If I have any updates on that, I will update my text review. You can visit the text review through the link in the video description below. Let's switch over to Medibank Paint Pro. This is a free drawing app with lots of great brushes. So let me just show you the lines that it can create. This software has less lag compared to Photoshop. The lines, they appear very smooth. The transition between the thin and thick is very gradual, very smooth as well. Hatching lines like this, they work very well. The lag is very minimal. The lines, they also taper very gradually, very sharply, unlike in Photoshop. Let me zoom in to let you take a look. So this is how pressure would work. This is a very sensitive pen. The digitizer actually works really well. And it's very accurate. After you have calibrated the pen to the screen, there is almost no parallax at all. So there's this little circle here that will tell you where your cursor is. And the line will always appear underneath the tip of the pen. This is Mischief, a doodling app with infinite canvas. Pressure works quite well here too. This is Affinity Photo. Pressure works well. Strokes, they taper a bit sharply, so this is not as gradual as I want it to be. But since I do not draw with Affinity Photo, it doesn't really affect me. But you can definitely have pressure sensitivity working with Affinity Photo. This is Affinity Designer, the competitor to Adobe Illustrator. I can turn on the pressure, but I'm not able to get the variation in strokes. So apparently pressure doesn't work here too, even though I can turn on the pressure in the settings box. This is Krita. Pressure works here as well. This is Hayasui Sketches Pro. It's quite responsive. Now the brush that I'm using, it does not have pressure sensitivity. So whether or not the app supports pressure, it really depends on whether the app has that feature. So even though you can see the thin and thick lines, these are actually the brush styles that's applied by the software, not applied by the pressure. One thing I forgot to mention is this monitor actually came out in around 2015, so this is almost 2 years old. The price for this monitor is around US $600, but it really depends on where you buy it and whether or not there are any discount. So if you want to get yourself a unit, you can check out the links in the video description below. The things that I like would be the IPS panel, the quality of the panel, the colors are great, the viewing angles are great, the pan, it's accurate, it has good sensitivity. Even though the glass screen is quite smooth, but it's not that slippery. It just takes a while to get used to it. So you do not have to actually get a matte screen protector to paste over it. If you do get a screen protector to paste over it, it's going to affect the quality. It's going to make things a bit more grainy. So right now this 1080p resolution, it's quite sharp to me in this 21-inch screen. After working with this monitor for a while, this area will be slightly warm, but it's not too hot. I can still work on it comfortably. The thing that I do not like about this monitor is the cables, they come out from the bottom. So if I put the monitor all the way down like this, I have to have the inconvenience of removing the cables out of the way so that this monitor, it doesn't wobble. But since I do not use the monitor flat all the way, it's not that often that I have that inconvenience. Some pen displays, they have those shortcut buttons on the side, but for this monitor there aren't any of those buttons. Anyway, I use keyboard shortcuts all the time, so I do not miss those buttons. So to conclude, this pen display, it actually works quite well, with the exception of some of the older Adobe software that I'm still using. There are always people who ask me why don't I upgrade to the latest Adobe CC. The reason is the old software still works very well for the type of work that I do, so I see no reason to spend money unnecessarily. This may be a model from 2 years ago, but it's still working fine today by today's standard. It's also cheaper compared to the Cintiq and also the new Cintiq Pro. The screen size is good. The resolution is good enough for a 21.5-inch screen. The color reproduction is actually quite good as well. Overall build quality is pretty decent, and the drawing experience, well, is quite satisfactory. Drawing on the glass is a bit smooth, so it will take some time to get used to it. But I think overall, still quite a pleasant experience. The last thing I want to say is, since I cannot test this on a Windows machine, if you want a Windows perspective, you can check out the guest review. The link is in the video description below. And that's all for my review today. I hope this is helpful. If you have any other questions, let me know in the comment section below. If not, see you in the next video. Bye!